eyes to close gently. Just allow yourself to get centered and grounded, anchored and present. So frequently our physical body is in one place. Our mind is somewhere else. Thoughts are somewhere else. Just bring it all here into this moment. Just allow that awareness to come into this moment. And allow that awareness to merge with your breath. So try to draw all of that power of attention, of focus, of awareness. Try to draw all of that to the breath. Not in a forceful way, though. We're not changing the breath. We're not doing pranayama. We're just drawing all of the power, that Shakti, of our awareness, of our attention. We're drawing it to the breath. And allow yourself to become fully present, immersed in the breath. Can you be present right at the edge of your nose as the breath comes in? Can you be right there? And can you be right there along the path of the breath as it flows in? And as it fills and touches not only the lungs, but every cell of your being. Notice the way that the cells respond to that prana, that life force as it comes in. And allow yourself to stay present on the exhalation as well. Where are you exhaling from? Can you feel the breath as it exits the body? Through the nose, through the mouth, wherever it's exiting from. You're not judging. You're not trying to change. You're not counting the breath. You're simply allowing yourself to be completely absorbed into it. To be completely absorbed in that power of total awareness. Do you notice places in the body, the physical body, the energetic body, where the breath seems not to flow so smoothly? Places where it seems to be blocked or contracted. And again, no judgment, no analysis. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to do. You're just noticing. Just being aware in the places where it flows freely and deeply. And being aware in the places where it seems more blocked or shallow. And then notice, just with awareness, whether simply being aware changes the breath. Does your awareness of places it's blocked or places it's constricted, as you hold that awareness, does anything shift? Again, there's no right answer. There's no pass or fail. You're just noticing. Everything else, sounds and smells and sensations, other workings of the mind, they're all just like background music in an elevator. It's there, but you don't pay any attention to it. You keep that awareness fully merged in the breath as it enters and all the way until it leaves the body. On the next exhalation, as you exhale, see whether your awareness can stay with the breath, with that prana, even after you've exhaled. When it's no longer in your body, can you still be aware of it? Again, this is not a pass-fail exam or quiz or test. Just notice. What is the point where you receive and then where you lose the ability to merge the awareness in the breath? Can you become aware before it even brushes against your nose? Can you merge with that prana before your inhalation brings it into your body? Just notice. Is it possible? Notice how far away from your body can you maintain that awareness? Is it a millimeter, a centimeter, an inch, a few inches? Just notice. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of the hands together at chest level and gently rub them against each other. Press the palms into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome to Satsang. I love that meditation because, well, raise your hand if you were able to be aware of the breath, either on the inhalation or the exhalation, even for just a moment, at any point before or after it was actually touching your physical body. Raise your hand if you had any experience of being able to be aware of it when it wasn't in your physical body. Raise your hand. Raise them high. Great. So a lot of you. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see that possibility grows. And it may only be a few millimeters, a centimeter. But it's such a powerful opportunity because it really brings home on a very deep experiential level that we don't actually begin and end with our flesh and bones. That actually we have this opportunity to discover that there's energy flowing as our awareness, as our consciousness, as our presence, that isn't limited just to exactly where the physical body begins and ends. And I'm not saying you're going to feel it coming from, 3 miles away. But just as you notice it in the energy around you, it makes you realize, wow, I don't begin and end right here. It's not that this is the beginning and the end of who I am. Like I can actually feel the breath as it begins to get drawn in. I can hold that awareness for a little while after I exhale. And that's the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of a very powerful experience. Not just knowledge that I've heard or read, but an experience of knowing that we're not just our physical body, of knowing that we interact with and intersect with energetically that which is around us. That we're not these isolated physical beings of matter. How many times do you feel the energetic vibrations, right, of someone around you or something around you? Well, how is that even possible? Well, because we're connected. You think, well, I can feel hot and cold and pleasure and pain and itching or whatever it is on my skin, but how do I feel energy of someone near me? But we all do it. We've all had some experience in our life, if not several experiences, of knowing, that person felt off in some way. Or there was a beautiful connection. Just, you feel it. And all of these experiences just help us realize experientially, I'm not just this body. So it's a beautiful practice, and it's something you can do anywhere. Stuck on a subway, feeling ungrounded, unanchored, we can just practice it. Sitting in a meeting, sitting in a boardroom, you can do it with your eyes open. Just bring that awareness in, and it just really helps shift that focus from being in the drama, in the story, to being in the one who is aware. Because that's what it is then. It's I am the one who is aware, right? I'm not the breath that's flowing in, because I'm also aware of the breath that's flowing out. I'm aware of it here, I'm aware of it here, I'm aware of it. I'm that power of awareness. And that power of awareness exists even when the breath is no longer in my body. So it brings it home. So we always start satsang with a question that comes in advance from our family joining us from across the world through online, social media, web, and in honor of the fact that they are not able to be here on the banks of Mother Ganga, we take one of those questions first, and then we'll open it up to any question that anyone here has. Can someone truly change their behavior or personality? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's much easier than you think. Okay? Anybody here ever been drunk? Raise your hand. I won't tell, I promise. Anybody here ever seen someone who's drunk? Right? Now, when someone's drunk or they're on drugs, what happens? Do they seem like exactly the same person they were when they're not drunk or on drugs? Right? They seem very different. Anybody ever have an experience after being drunk or on drugs where you say, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Right? See everyone nodding. Good. Can't believe I said that. Can't believe I did that. That wasn't me. Now, alcohol is it's a chemical. It's a molecule. It's not the Coke, it's not the tonic, it's not the ice cubes, it's not the water, it's the alcohol. It's not the grapes, it's not the barley, it's not the wheat. These are all things we have normally. They don't make us drunk. It's the molecule of alcohol. that when it gets into our bloodstream and into our brain, it changes our personality, changes our behavior. Drugs, different chemicals, change personality, change behaviors. Right? This is the stuff all of those movies that we watched when we were kids were made of, right? That made us really want to go to college and live in dorms and, go to fraternity parties because everyone's dancing on tables and, doing all of these things that people normally wouldn't do. One molecule, one chemical, short half-life, it's gone in a few hours. But it radically changes our personality and behavior. So if one molecule can give such a powerful change in personality and behavior, of course we can change it. We change it mindfully, we change it consciously. The chemicals we ingest have half-lives. That's why you're drunk only for a few hours and then you're hungover and sick. Whatever drugs you take, they have a half-life. It might be 10 minutes, it might be 6 hours. But at some point, they're going to go out of your system. You will no longer be under the influence. But when we make conscious decisions to change, well, then there's no half-life. Then it just gets stronger and stronger. But it's all about working with the brain. That's why I gave you the alcohol and drugs example. Because these are all properties of the brain, and the brain can be changed. And the brain is a creature of habit. Anybody ever find themselves at home after they've left the office, but they don't actually remember getting home? Like you've driven home, or you've walked home, or you've taken the subway home. But you don't actually have any recollection of it because you were so busy thinking about something else, but somehow you managed to drive yourself home or walk yourself home, even without being consciously aware of it. It's habit. All of the things we do in our day, they're habits. We don't have to think about brushing our teeth or getting dressed or having showers. Whatever habits we give ourselves, we do them. And in the same way, changing our behavior is just a matter of changing a habit. You got to start. It's not going to fall in your lap from the sky. You're not going to wake up one day and discover that your habits are different. You have to make them different. Difficult at the beginning, but then they become much easier. Much easier. In the beginning, we use willpower. Whatever willpower you need. There's lots of tricks, lots of techniques. How to make new habits. All kinds of things. Behavior modification. Give yourself a reward for doing it. Give yourself a punishment for not doing it. There's all kinds of little just tricks, easy tricks to do it. And what you'll find is your personality is really nothing other than habits. Habits of how you think, habits of how you speak, and habits of how you live. And what you'll find is they intersect with each other. So my behavior impacts my personality. If I start getting up every day, meditating, doing japa, doing yoga, well, I'm going to notice that actually my personality changes. Not just through the power of the meditation or yoga, but because suddenly now I identify as a spiritual person. So I'm going to be less likely to act in unspiritual ways because, hey, I'm a spiritual person. I get up every day, I meditate, I do yoga, I do japa. If you start going out to bars every night, your personality is going to change. Not just from the alcohol, but because now you identify as, oh, I am that type of person. And so we start to behave differently. We start to think differently. So our actions impact our self-identity, and our self-identity impacts our actions. So start from both ends. Then it becomes even stronger. Change your actions, but start with one. Don't decide that from now on, I'm going to change 30 things. Start with one. Just one from this minute. And then you can add another one. Next month. Add another one the following month. As each one gets firm, add a new one. But as you do the changing of the behavior, make sure that you're also conscious of how the thoughts are shifting, and allow the thoughts to shift. Make sure that you are consciously aware, oh, I am the person who donates money to charity, does seva, helps other people, no longer cheats on his or her wife or husband. Whatever habit it is that you're looking to change, allow your self-identity to start telling yourself a different story about who you are. Because once the behavior changes, you're a different person. And slowly, 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 not only will the habits change, but the entire personality will. Because we're constantly self-identifying based on what we do. I go at night to bars and get drunk. I am that type of person. I get up in the morning and meditate and do yoga. I'm that type of person. And then everything else ripples out accordingly. How I think, what I do in the rest of the day, the types of friends I have. So just start somewhere. And you'll see it'll change so fast. It's beautiful. Other questions? Any questions that anyone here has? Yes.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. So yesterday we finished this night with a question about heart and mind. So I know a person for which I feel love, but this person is kind of far from me because she says her heart feels something, but her mind tells her she needs to do. She needs to go through a challenge by herself, right? So how can someone be close? Like this person needs space. So how can someone be present for someone who needs space?
Who is? She is what? I'm sorry?
She needs space, right? So she says space.
She needs space. Thank you. Thank you.
So how can someone show love and be
and still
present
need space
for someone,
yeah.
but also not forget about myself, because I need to not forget about
beautiful
myself. Thank you.
Sure. I always say relationships are a yoga. They really are. It's a yoga of relationship. When you do yoga asanas, it's all about balance and alignment. I was taught when I first started studying Hatha Yoga that Hatha literally means the sun and the moon. And that it's all about this constant balance. So for example, we're in warrior pose, right? And one arm is stretching this way, but you have to be aware of the arm stretching this way as well. And it's a constant, like here I am and my outstretched fingertip over there, but you don't want to lose the fingertip back there. I'm bending down to the leg here, but you don't want to lose the back of the heel over there. And it's a constant stretching of the mind, of the awareness, to all of it. And relationship is a yoga. Not only in the way of an asana, the balance, you give but you need to protect, you open but hear and give space but you love. But also, it's a yoga because the foundation of yoga, according to Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, before we even get to asana as level 3, limb 3, we have yam and niyam, what in the West they call the yamas and niyamas, which is limb 1 and 2. And that's how we live. And of course it begins with ahimsa, non-violence, and satya, truthfulness. And so when you look at relationship, we have to ask ourselves, am I in yoga? Now, non-violence in relationship doesn't simply mean I do not beat my husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend. Physically, I don't harm them physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally. But it also means that I don't harm myself. Because that non-violence pertains to you as well. And so we need to be constantly also aware of, am I allowing myself to be harmed in any way through this relationship? And in terms of truthfulness, am I being truthful with this person? In my word, in my action, in my intention? But also, am I being truthful to myself? About who I am, what I need, what I want, what I feel. And am I being truthful between love and desire? Because although they tend to frequently go together, they are not the same thing. Love is expansive, desire is contracting. Desire says, I need it, I have to have it. Love says it's there. Desire seeks to create the world to conform with what I want, to give me what I want. Another person, the universe, should conform to what I want. It shouldn't rain tomorrow. In relationship, love says, I can love you even if you don't want to be with me. Desire says, I need it to be like this. But love also says, I love myself, which means I love you even if you don't want to be with me. But I also love myself. And I know that I deserve to be loved. And I know that I deserve to be with someone who loves me. And if that's not you, then my love for myself, my non-violence to myself, my truthfulness to myself, requires me to not be in that situation anymore. Now, if it's just a temporary, somebody, as you say, you love them, they need some space at the moment, no problem. It's okay. Right? It's like that beautiful saying that says, Right? If you love someone, set them free. If they come back, they'll always be yours. And if they don't, they were never yours to begin with. Love isn't keeping someone in a cage, even a golden cage. Love has to be a choice every day. Every day. And by the way, this is true even if you're married. Otherwise, we start to feel stuck. And otherwise, we get bored and we feel frustrated. And every day, you wake up and you re-choose. I choose again. I choose you again. I choose you again. I choose you again. Consciously, every minute, every moment. So if this person you love needs some space, the truth actually is you don't have any choice. Either you give it to them with love, or they take it. There isn't anything you can do to change the situation other than ask yourself, is this a situation that is loving for me? And only you can answer that. But drop in. Is this a situation of love? And yeah, there's a lot of times in our life when we love someone, but we need to go through certain things on our own. Doesn't mean we don't love them. Just means we need some time. I know lots and lots of people in very long-term, deep, powerful, loving relationships who take time away. Weeks, months. Go on their own. They maybe take a trip separately. Maybe go for meditation. Maybe go here. Maybe go there. Maybe do this. Maybe, whatever it may be. Because just because we love someone doesn't necessarily mean that every single thing we go through, we need to go through with them. Or that every single minute we actually are going to benefit from their physical presence. Sometimes there's growth we need. And it may be a simple, weekend away with friends. It may be a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. It may be something longer. But a physical break doesn't mean that there isn't love. And so for you at this point, really all you need to do is drop into your self-love. Confirm that regardless of this person needing space, you are able to keep loving yourself. And allow yourself to take that space in love for them and for you. And keep deciding, keep choosing every minute, is this still right? Is this right? Is this right? And if it is, then eventually that space will no longer be needed. You'll come back together. One of the greatest gifts in relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a relationship of friends, is to actually be able to simply hold space for someone. To go through what they need to go through, to not need something from them in that moment. And you may be holding that space from a distance. Doesn't mean that you're actually sitting in the same room with them. But to be able to just hold that space energetically. They know you're there for them, but they're able to go through it alone. When you study child development, one of the really standard tests that they do is they'll bring a mother and her child into a room. And they'll just watch the child play. They'll fill the room with different toys and things, and opposite parts of the room, they'll put the mother in a chair in one corner, and they'll watch what the kid does. And you'll see 3 types of kids, mostly. One is the kid who won't leave the mother's lap. Doesn't matter how exciting the toys may be, doesn't leave the mother's lap. The other is the type of kid who leaves the mother's lap to go play and essentially couldn't care less if the mother was there or not. Never looks back, never notices the mother. Both of those are less than ideal. They're not what you would call secure attachment. Secure attachment is the child who goes to play, but periodically turns their head back. Just, mom's still there, right? Mom's still there. And then they explore and they go and they play and they learn. And they just, every once in a while, just, yeah, mom's still there. And that's true not only in our childhood, but it's a really beautiful model for kind of secure attachment in relationship. It's not that I have to be in your lap every minute. But it's also not that I'm going to just go and do things and not care whether you're there. But that I'm going to have that courage, that strength to go and go through what I need to go through, to do what I need to do, because I know you are there. Holding that space. And so this may be a beautiful time to offer that to her. And it doesn't diminish love in any way. In fact, it's a sign of stronger and healthier love. Other questions? Yes.
Hi, you talked about addiction to drugs and alcohol. That is something which you consume, but there's a much bigger addiction which we see today is to social media, to phones, and especially in kids and teenagers.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
I agree. So I'm going to add the question to that, which of course is, what do we do about it, right? Is there anything we can do? Especially with kids. Well, it's an addiction, in many cases, to a drug, to a chemical called dopamine in the brain. It's more complex than that, but on the most basic, rudimentary level, we're looking at addiction to dopamine. It's a reward chemical in the brain. And what we know is that the creators of the phones, social media, all of the notifications we get, the very way that the device works is to keep us addicted. It is engineered quite purposely. This is not a byproduct of it. It's not just a negative side effect. It is engineered to addict us so that we will keep staring at it. Now, for us as adults, the question we have to ask ourselves is, do I want to stay addicted? Do I want to stay a slave? A slave to someone else's algorithm, literally. They're writing code to addict us. They are predicting, this is what's going to get you to keep staring at the phone. Do we want to live like slaves? Because we have a choice. The thing's got an off button. It actually can be left in another room. There's all sorts of things that can be done. But like any change of habit, we have to consciously decide, because on its own, it's not going to stop trying to give us dopamine hits. It's not going to stop trying to get us to stare at it. So we have to work. And we have to make conscious decisions. And they should be clear. And they're simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Designate times. No phone times. Meals are a great one. No phones at the table. Just make a rule. No phones before a certain time of day. After a certain time of day. Just make a rule. The phone's got this great thing. It's one of my favorite aspects of the phone. It's called Do Not Disturb. And the reason I love it is you can program it so that your family, I mean, God forbid, you've got parents, you've got kids, you've got spouses, you don't want to be unavailable if there were an emergency. So you program it in such a way that certain people's calls will come through. But only their calls. No text messages, no WhatsApps, no social media notifications. I mean, you can be sure that if someone's having an emergency, they're not going to text you about it. They're going to call. They're not going to say, oh, well, yeah, I was dying on the side of the road. I sent you a WhatsApp. You didn't read it. If it's an emergency, they'll call. So you set it to ring. But you don't get anything else. So there's ways that we have to take back that addiction. Another great thing I love about the phone is it has screen time. It will tell you how many hours a day on average you are spending staring at that device. Watch it. Let it terrify you. Really, ask yourself, what else could I be doing? I mean, for anyone who says, I don't have enough time, I don't have time to meditate, check out your screen time. If you're like most people, it's well over 5 hours a day. Now, granted, some of it may be work. A lot of us use phones for work, but not all. And it'll tell you out of those hours what you're spending on what app. So if you try to pretend, oh, that's just because I'm using WhatsApp for my business. Oh, it'll tell you how much you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever you're watching. YouTube. It'll tell you. And then ask yourself, what else could I do with that time? Make a commitment to yourself. Another thing you can do is you actually can set limits. It will knock you off. You want to be on social media no more than 10 minutes a day, you can set it. It'll knock you off after 10 minutes. So it actually, thankfully, unlike drugs or alcohol, it actually comes with the mechanisms that we can use to free ourselves, to use it as a tool rather than let it use us. We just have to be conscious, that's it. Just deliberate and conscious about what we do. So that you don't find yourself, oh my God, you went on to check one thing and it's 45 minutes later and you're watching a video of somebody you don't even know dance down a street in a city you've never been in or ever heard of. You're like, how did I get here? Well, that's the algorithm. It's designed to make that happen to you. Don't let it. And with our kids as parents, you must be strict. I say this to parents all over the world, and of course what I get back is, but they'll hate me. But they'll cry, but they'll complain. Of course they will. They're kids. It's what they do. When I was growing up, before we had these phones, we hated our parents because of curfew. Or we hated our parents because they would turn off the TV at a certain hour of the day. Or not let us watch more than a certain amount of TV, whatever it was. I mean, I remember being in my room on the phone. Not a mobile, but the kind that used to be attached with a cord and on the phone. And my dad would come in and tell me I had to get off the phone. Mom would send him in to do the dirty work. But the point is, parents have been telling their kids to get off the phone long before they were mobile. Long before there was social media. Parents have been telling kids to turn off the TV. They've been turning it off for the kids. And kids have been begging, and no, just one more, and parents have said no. Parents have been calling kids in from playing baseball or cricket or basketball or tag or whatever they're playing in the yard since before there were TVs or phones. Go back through the history of parenting and you're going to find parents have always stopped kids from doing what kids want to do, and the kids always cry and scream. They may even say, I hate you. They may say, everyone's doing it. They'll say whatever they need to say. Welcome to being a parent. It's the package deal. Let them say it. Do it anyway. Confiscate phones. No phones should be allowed in bedrooms. Certainly not 24/7. Confiscate them. Obviously it depends based on the age of the child, but we need to stop being afraid to be parents just because they're now our phones. But the last piece is, you got to walk the talk. Because kids do what we do much more than what we tell them to do. And they have very, very, very good BS meters. And if we're telling them something but we're doing the opposite, they're going to pick up on it. And then not only are we telling them to do something they don't want to do, but we look like hypocrites and they lose their respect for us. And so it's actually a great opportunity to limit your own screen time, to limit your own addiction to it, so as to paint a much, much better example for your kids. But collectively we have to come together. We're not going to rewind history and uninvent the phone. The question is now, how do we deal with it? Right? Nuclear weapons were invented. You can't rewind history and uninvent them, unfortunately. So the UN gets created after World War II. How are we going to work together, all of the countries, for security? We have to put in systems. And eventually it'll happen with devices, but long before governments put in systems, we need to put them in. Because it's our lives they're stealing. And it begins in your own pocket, begins in your own purse, begins in your own home. Just start from today. It's a great feeling of empowerment, putting down the phone. And do something that gives you a much more powerful experience of reward. Do things that actually get real neurotransmitters, the real feel-good ones, flowing. Connect with other people. Create art, look at art. Create music, listen to beautiful music. Be in nature, hug trees, lie in the grass, lie in the ocean. Serve others. Meditate, pray, do yoga, dance. It's going to give you much, much longer lasting and much more powerful hits of those feel-good brain chemicals. Ones that are even deeper and much better as far as brain chemicals go than the hits of dopamine. Thanks. Yeah, great question. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to you all.